Welcome to the Stock Market Daily News podcast for Wednesday, April 30th, 2026. Here's your rapid-fire roundup of everything you missed in yesterday's action-packed markets. Let's run through the indices. The S&P 500 held steady, closing just above the 4,700 mark and capping a strong month, up nearly 8.5% for April and 4% year-to-date. The Nasdaq treaded carefully and ended slightly down by about 0.2%, but still boasts close to a 13% gain for the month. Meanwhile, the Dow Jones eked out modest gains. It's wait-and-see mode as Wall Street braced for a flurry of big tech earnings, a critical Fed decision, and wild swings in oil prices. Let's break down the top stories driving the tape. Robinhood headlines the morning with a bruising drop. Shares plunged about 12%, closing near $72 after missing first-quarter earnings and revenue forecasts. The hit was led by a whopping 47% year-over-year decline in crypto transaction revenue. Management raised expense forecasts and signaled margin pressure, spooking investors. The sell-off spilled over to peers. Webull dropped 5% and Coinbase shed 8%, fueled by sector uncertainty and questions about the future of retail crypto trading. Bottom line, analysts still see a longer-term bull case in Robinhood's shift toward banking and wealth management, but today's report deepens a rocky start to the year. The S&P 500 held its ground ahead of three big catalysts. This afternoon brings Jerome Powell's final Fed meeting before Kevin Warsh is expected to take over as chair. The Fed is widely expected to hold rates steady at 3.75%, but traders are scrutinizing every word for clues about rate cuts or future policy shifts. Meanwhile, big tech is in the spotlight, with Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, and Microsoft all set to report earnings after the bell. The S&P's resilience suggests optimism for corporate profits, but the mood remains cautious. Oil prices are also making headlines. West Texas Intermediate jumped nearly $4 on the session, trading above $104 per barrel, and Brent crude briefly surpassed $115. The surge is tied to heightened shipping risk in the Strait of Hormuz and the United Arab Emirates' surprise exit from OPEC. The move is shaking up energy stocks, pressuring transport and consumer names, and feeding global inflation jitters. In tech, chip giant Intel is turning scrap into gold, literally. With a global CPU shortage, even lower-quality scrap chips once written off are now selling at full price. That tells us demand for processing power is so extreme that buyers are willing to settle for less just to get supply. Good news for Intel's revenues in the short term, but a sign the current market imbalance won't last forever. And in the world of blockchain and equities, BlackRock-backed Securitize and Computershare are teaming up to let U.S. companies issue stock on the blockchain. This move potentially unlocks a $70 trillion market for tokenized stocks, offering new ways for investors to hold and transfer shares, and pushing Wall Street closer to digital rails. Quick recap. The S&P 500 finished steady, the Nasdaq slipped about 0.2%, and the market is bracing for Fed headlines and a big tech earnings wave. Key themes: crypto weakness spilling over into trading stocks, oil prices driving inflation fears, and big tech in focus. Coming up, all eyes on today's Fed statement and those blockbuster earnings from Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, and Microsoft. Subscribe for daily market rundowns, visit our website, or follow us wherever you get your podcasts for the latest updates. Thanks for tuning in to Stock Market Daily News.